every revolution or every political movement or any kind of change, and having someone, okay, CIA, which is fucking for you to call me CIA when you know I'm not.
Everything was politicized. It was, oh, this is when we became the left versus the right. But both sides are trash. In COVID,
his own thing. So it seems to be that money's the issue, that like we're using money and that's how politics is being pushed. Because now we've seen what someone does when they use their own money, and it doesn't seem to be a solution. So I feel like we take money out of politics, we'll have a much better political system.
Politician, you think they're gonna come out and tell me the truth? They was lying to my mama. They ain't gonna never tell us.
So everybody, we look at certain things just because, oh, this happens in the hood or we see this every day. All the way up. These people were speaking truth. King, we could talk X, we could talk it all. They were speaking truth.
What's going on in anyone's mind, but let's take it as a given that Gray's argument is true, that the argument to not have ID is that it would be discriminatory versus certain socioeconomic brackets or something. It's like
the world's greatest trial run of what people will do and what people won't do. And we are the only country on the planet that really fought against the government. A lot of it,
because you focus on 80-20 issues. I'm looking at the Epstein issue as we have 80% of the information we need to prosecute these people that actually did anything, but you're focusing on the 20% trying to take down Donald Trump, which you're never going to get. So I'm going to keep sitting here with a smug-ass face on every single day.
I'll explain. Good question. I'll give you the answer. The Republican Party constantly talks about transgenders and transgender surgery to minors.
I'm mostly on the left, ideologically, but I don't associate with the Democrats because they're not ideologically on the left. The Democrats are clowns, and they're also losers.
About to be any engaging conversation. It's not about to be any discourse about different political ideologies, what works and what doesn't. If that is the outcome, right? For example, I'm not going to go and just put myself in the middle of a KKK rally.
Verify me. I'm not a fucking fed. They always do this. I'll say this, right? But they did the same thing to Nick. We've seen the video. They'll call people who are genuine and authentic feds because
the interesting thing to me is that the ones that claim that they believe the Constitution are now trampling the Constitution. The ones that said they believed in the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, right, are now going against the freedom of
leadership perspective.
They don't have no plan. They don't ever talk about nothing positive about the Democrat Party. Everything is just anti-Trump. They're not willing to have a conversation. They call us fascists. We willing to have a conversation. Charlie Kirk's willing to have a conversation.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this panel show are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this channel, its affiliates, sponsors, or production team. This content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking around the topics discussed.
Party. Why I like the new party? Number one, it's a group of people that's on a panel. We all have differences, but we all basically still come together at the end of the day. The new party for me is about unity. The new party for me is about educating people to the truth, letting people know what's been going on in our country. With that being said, shout out to the new party, man. We're going to keep it going with y'all.
Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Kim.
Kim Billions, what's good?
I'm Doc.
It's Mia.
And I'm Enzo.
And tonight on the new party, we might have to re-educate some people about the Second Amendment, honey, because I just think people don't forgot tonight. But we're gonna have an education tonight. So, Kim, you are a former paralegal in another life. Tell us about the Second Amendment. What does it protect us from?
The right to bear arms. Did I pass?
Yes. Yes, you did. But I'm sure our friends on the right tonight will explain to us how he was a terrorist, what he didn't do. I can't wait to hear all of it tonight. I've heard a good lot last night. If you watch, we heard it from Rippy and 85. We heard the mental gymnastics. So we'll have part 2 today. But in that first clip, we had comedian. I know you guys didn't think he was funny, but many people do. And he was just making a joke, but in all seriousness, the right usually defends Second Amendment, but it seems like we're pivoting from that a little bit. And that's okay. But leading up, I'm going to be fair and I'm going to give both sides tonight. Even though I personally think he was an unjustified killing, let me start by saying that. And I am a conservative and I did vote for Donald Trump. So you're not going to take that from me and say I wasn't, but I know how the chat is. We'll be fair. A week ago, we're going to paint a story about Mr. Alex Pretty, whatever his name is. Rest his soul in peace. This was a CNN clip saying where he was at a week before. We'll start with that.
That Alex Pretty had a physical encounter with federal agents about a week before he was shot and killed by law enforcement. Sources tell CNN that Pretty broke a rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting. Priscilla Alvarez is breaking that story for us. What else are you hearing, Priscilla?
Dana, we're learning more details along with my colleague Jeff Winter about what exactly transpired a week before Alex Pretty was shot in Minneapolis and died this past weekend. Now, in this earlier incident, he stopped his car after observing ICE agents chasing what he described as a family on foot and began shouting and blowing his whistle. Pretty later told one of these sources that 5 agents tackled him and 1 leaned on his back, appearing to leave him with a broken rib. According to this source, and I'm quoting here, that source said, quote, that day he thought he was going to die. Now, Pretty was later given medication that is consistent with treating a broken rib, according to records reviewed by CNN. Sources also say that he was known to federal law enforcement, though it's unclear whether it was this incident or another with federal agents that they knew of him. It's also unclear whether the officers who tackled him on Saturday knew who he was. What we do know, however, is that federal immigration officers have been collecting personal information of protesters and agitators within the context of what the Department of Homeland Security has warned is repeated threats towards officers as they are conducting immigration enforcement operations. In fact, just Tuesday, the department also publicized an online tip form to share information about people allegedly harassing ICE officers. We've also heard Tom Homan, the White House border czar, say that a database would be created for those who are arrested for impeding law enforcement. But thus far, in our queries to the Department of Homeland Security, they have said that no such database exists.
Unbelievable. There's a
You're muted.
There you are.
Whoops. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you to Alicia Cook. She became a member today, so thank you to Alicia. Shout out to you. Enzo, I cannot wait to hear your position on this. I will say this was a little interesting for me to hear, so go on and tell me about the chats. While you're talking, I'm going to pull up the clip for the chats that I know you're going to probably mention.
So everybody wants to sit and paint this Alex Pretty as this guy who was just minding his own business, that he was just there recording ICE agents. Here's the thing. This story broke on Saturday night. I'm pretty sure it was Saturday night, about a Signal group chat that he was a part of, Renee Good was a part of. Right here, show it. Most of the people that are in it. There's still more that comes out with that. Of these groups of people that are well organized, that anytime they see ICE, that they're running plate checks, that these people are going out there harassing, obstructing, and doing everything to interfere with these ICE agents. This situation with Alex, as somebody who carries every single day, could have been avoided on his own behalf. You're somebody who's carrying lawfully. This is not an attack on the Second Amendment whatsoever. It's not. That's your God-given right by the Constitution to carry every single day. With that comes responsibilities. For you to be carrying every single day, you must be aware of your surroundings to not put yourself in a position where it could get chaotic or interfere with law enforcement. The biggest one, you're carrying. They're going to address the situation how they address the situation. I'm sorry, he had a weapon on him. The first thing he should have did was, when he was pepper sprayed, was let them know, I have a weapon on me, and kept my arms up the entire time. That's what he should have done. But he didn't do that. They ended up bringing him to the ground, and while he was on the ground, everyone wants to say they've seen otherwise. You can clearly see him from putting his hands above his head down to his side where his firearm was on him, where his holster still was. That officer saw that, acted correctly. It is his life versus their life, and that's how the situation needed to be addressed. It's tragic that it happened, but again, just like Renee Good, mind your fucking business and you would still probably be here. They're doing a job. Let them do their job. Don't interfere. Don't try to be the white savior for whoever out there. Let them do their job and mind your business.
You're muted.
Yeah, so the screenshot you guys saw me share was they're saying that he had a login on the Signal chat, and in that login it said it literally was his name, and it was his student issued email address that he had for the password. So it would appear that he is a part of these groups where they go, they blow the whistles, they alert the ICE that they're there. All of that said, Doc, does this change your position? Because I heard you last night, you were pretty strong on it. Does it change your position that this was a justified unalivement?
No, I never thought it was justified. I agree that ICE is doing a job, and I think that they have the right to do it. And I think that Trump ran on these principles. So I believe that, this is what's going to take place. I believe that they're doing a bad job. I think that's my argument. I believe that they're doing a bad job, and I don't think all of these dudes are doing bad jobs. I just think that it falls short on conservatives or Republicans when they can't say that dude is a bad agent. You know what I mean? That might not make the whole agency bad, but when you can't point out and say, hey, that guy's doing a bad job, that's a bad police officer, then you lose the American people. And also, I didn't see a guy. I carry every day. You know what I'm saying? I probably have a different interaction with people. I done had my ass beat by the police. When I'm getting my ass beat by the police, I don't usually keep my hands in the air. I 100% tell you, if you go look at the videos, I'll post one in the chat later if y'all want to see it in the group chat of me getting stopped by the police, having an interaction. When they punch me in my shit, I don't keep my hands above my head, even if I got a gun on my way. Like, just because no one puts their hands above their heads when they're getting beat up by 6 armed men. It just don't happen. Like, that's just, I didn't see a guy reaching for his firearm. I saw a dude who was being attacked by 6 armed individuals who came over there, had already OC sprayed him in the air, in the face, disarmed him, and shot him in the back and killed him like a dog. That's just a bad agent. You know what I mean? And that's a bad stain. I still think that the job they're here to do has to be done, but those aren't the best people to do it. And I think you can be able to say both.
Well, I'm going to let Ken go next. But in this clip, this was Charlemagne, and he gave the Trump administration Donkey of the Day.
For Tuesday, January 27th, of course, the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, FBI Director Kash Patel, U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Asali, I think you pronounce his name, and every single conservative who all of a sudden seems like they don't believe in the Second Amendment. Okay, what is the Second Amendment? Well, it's in that document nobody seems to care about anymore called the U.S. Constitution. And the Second Amendment protects the rights of the people to keep and bear arms. I am 2A all day. I absolutely believe in my right to keep and bear arms, but I also believe in common sense gun reform, okay? I don't feel that anyone in America needs guns the size of Little Duval, okay? And I think that's a rational way to look at this situation. But since the tragic murder of Alex Pretty, conservatives have not been being rational about this situation. In fact, critics yesterday were saying that the right is betraying their base on gun rights. Now, I was watching The Daily Show last night, and they had an amazing collage they put together of all of the conservatives just betraying their base on gun rights.
This gentleman is dead, but he did bring a 9mm semi-automatic weapon with 2 cartridges to what was supposed to be a peaceful protest.
Lord have mercy. That was our Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Listen, in a world where Kyle Rittenhouse was hailed as a hero after bringing a gun to a protest and ended up killing 2 people, now conservatives are asking who brings a gun to a protest. Caroline Levitt said yesterday that any gun owner knows that carrying a gun raises the assumption of risk and the risk of force being used against you during interactions with law enforcement. Gun owners, did y'all know that? Envy, did you know that? I didn't know that having a legal firearm that, you have all your paperwork for raises the risk of law enforcement using force against you. By the way, Kyle Rittenhouse, okay, tweeted yesterday, and I quote, "Carry everywhere, period. It is your right. Hashtag shall not be infringed." Listen, gun right groups blasted the Trump administration yesterday. The NRA had something to say. Let's go to CBS News for the report, please.
The killing of Alex Pretty has raised concerns among a group of Americans not known for criticizing the Trump administration. Advocates for the Second Amendment. The federal government says part of the reason he was killed is because he had a gun. But Pretty was licensed to carry, and the video shows that the weapon stayed in his waistband. One Trump administration official said online, quote, "If you approach law enforcement with a gun, there is a high likelihood they will be legally justified in shooting you." Here is the NRA's response. Responsible public voices should be awaiting a full investigation, not making generalizations and demonizing law-abiding citizens.
That was the NRA, and I agree with them. Now, we know all freedom hasn't been created equal in this country, but the freedoms we do have, we don't want them infringed upon by the government. And yesterday, I told you the Nazis ultimately lost. What I was simply saying was political movements that normalize anti-democratic behavior eventually.
Okay, I can only take so much, Ken. I can only take so much. But he said a lot that kind of rubbed me wrong. First, we need to stop with the terms and the rhetoric. You talked about this last night. Even on the left, Nazi. And you said this. These men have been hearing this. Also, I mean, he's all over the place. What's your thoughts, Ken?
Well, it's very interesting. First off, I like to push back on what Enzo said, just mind your business. They are minding their business. They live there. And where I differ from most people is the government serves the people, not the other way around. If Minnesota residents don't want them there, get your ass gone. States' rights, right? People have a right to run their state how they want. The federal government can't come in and tell other people what to do when those people clearly, as a state, don't want this. And this kind of reminds me of something. Criminals. The founding fathers were breaking British law and committed treason by rebelling against the crown, acting as smugglers and tax evaders to challenge British authority, right? That's our American nature. Our founding fathers start off as criminals, breaking the law against Britain, right? Those protesters are doing exactly what the founding fathers did. We don't like what you're doing. We have this misconception that we serve the government. If we don't like what is going on with law enforcement, the government, we don't actually have to listen to you, number one, right? Because our founding fathers start off not listening. So that's in our American blood, right? So they are minding their business. The overwhelming population of Minnesota does not want that. So the federal government is going to go against the will of an entire state. So then the government is doing its own work and it's not speaking for the people. Isn't that the role of the government?
Well, am I supposed to respond?
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So no, you're absolutely completely wrong. You're
Okay.
absolutely completely wrong about everything you said, because at the end of the day, the federal government can go anywhere within the 50 states of the United States, and the will of the people is the 77 million people, because we won the election. We want this to happen. We are the majority. The federal government is going to go and execute what we voted for. So they are doing the will of the people. They are. I could care less what people in Minnesota think of ICE getting illegal immigrants out, when this is the funny thing. This has been going on now for how long? And have we had the same amount of outbursts? Have we had in the other states that we put ICE in? No. Did you hear anything about Memphis? No. Chicago? No. Texas? No. Louisiana? No. New York? No. You didn't hear nothing from any of these states. You didn't hear no riots, none of this bullshit, none of this organization that goes all the way to the top in Minnesota, with the lieutenant governor of it setting up these group chats for them to go out there and go harass these ICE agents. No. That none of this was going on in any of those other states where we, the people, the majority of this country, voted for it. So no, I stand with the federal government all day long. And you trying to equate the United States originally, the founding fathers, to what's going on today is completely asinine, when that's not even close to what was going on, because they were fighting against an oppressive government in the British, not lawful agents conducting immigration authority in this country to make the country better for everybody. So Tim Walz and his group of merry little misfits can commit fraud and, get more voter base. That's exactly what's going on there. So no, don't try to equate the two and say that they're not subverting the will of the people, when in reality they are.
Enzo, Alex Pretty got shot in his back over 5 times, right? That looked like tyranny. That looked like tyranny to me.
It's not tyranny, no.
That he looked like he was being terrorized, right? He was outnumbered, outgunned, everything. That looked like African wild dogs on a rabbit.
I was just disagreeing.
Hold on, guys.
Hold
on. We all need to let people have a turn.
And I'll land here. Enzo, you can't say this is what you voted for when you didn't know how it was going to look. You didn't.
I knew exactly how it was going to look. I know how predictable.
I
know how predictable the left is, because here's the funny thing: Minnesota. Let's take a trip back down memory lane and look at BLM 2020 and how they reacted there. Yeah, I know what's going to happen in Minnesota. The Democrats are predictable. It's the same exact thing going on. The Democratic leadership enticing the rhetoric, not doing anything to stop this, not working with the ICE, not working with CBP or ICE like those other states and other cities that I mentioned. Here's the key difference between everything else that's going on in the United States with immigration and Minnesota. All those other states are working with ICE. Those state authorities are working with ICE. Those governors, they might not like the Trump administration, but they're working with ICE.
I'll end here. Some of the differences is because ICE is in Arizona. You want to know one of the huge differences. Everybody got a gun here, right? So ICE's behavior out here in Phoenix, Arizona, is gonna look way different because everybody has a gun.
That is
so. They shot someone today. They said.
That has nothing to do with it. If state authorities are working with ICE, it doesn't matter who has a gun or not. Because Texas, everybody has a gun in Texas. You didn't hear any of this going on in Texas.
No, your
Louisiana,
behavior is a little
everybody's
different.
got guns in Louisiana. Memphis, everyone's got guns there. It's the state leadership is the fucking problem, not the people. The state leadership. Once you start working with the federal government, none of this goes on. We see it already.
Let me play the clip explaining what you're saying, then I'll let Mia go. This is talking about the lieutenant governor and her actions.
This is Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, right here. She's been identified as the administrator in the underground signal chats that were used to coordinate all the anti-ICE and obstruction in federal law enforcement operations. She was giving locations, license plate numbers, instructions, things of that nature. And she's not the only one. There's other elected officials as well. Now, she has since scrubbed her Facebook and her social media profiles and deleted all of her contacts. This is our own elected officials and our own administrators that are coordinating an insurgency against our own government on U.S. soil. They are using American citizens as pawns in their dirty little war. These politicians, or insurrectionists, I will call them, are doing this with the full knowledge that the people they are encouraging to interfere with law enforcement are going to either lose their freedoms, they're going to get hurt, or worse, they're going to lose their life. They know this, and they don't care. Risking your life and your freedom for dirty politicians. These people are in so deep in Minnesota, and they are using you as a distraction. And that's it. Are we really to believe that Minnesota people care more about criminal, illegal migrants than they do about hard-working, good American citizens? Of course not. This is about the fraud and covering their asses. And if this is allowed to continue, this is the tip of the iceberg, because California, New York City, Philadelphia, Chicago, they are so deeply entrenched in taxpayer fraud regarding social services and programs. This is not just about the pop-ups and the nonprofit organizations. It's the politicians that push these programs through that are just, they're fully entrenched in the fraud. Guys, we are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars, that these politicians are stealing from our paychecks every single week. And they're just robbing us blind and just throwing us deeper and deeper into debt. People who are participating in this, either because they feel some kind of empathy or maybe they're lacking some purpose in their life, you are collateral damage. That's all you are to these people. All of this to protect dirty politicians and their fucking fraud. That, in my opinion, is what all of this is about.
Mia, is it about protecting fraud? What's your thoughts?
I would say my thoughts are 36 states in the United States allow carrying at protests. So people need to stop acting like you cannot carry at a protest. 36 states out of 50 legally allow you to carry at an assembly, a congregation of people, a protest, whatever you'd like to call it. And Minnesota's law specifically does not require you to inform. It actually only requires you to answer the officer if he asks first. So in Minnesota, you do not have a duty to inform. You have a duty to answer an officer if he asks you first. And we did not hear a single officer ask if he had a gun in their initial confrontation. They yelled gun, but that's not asking if you had a gun. So he was legally within his right to carry in Minnesota. He did not have to disclose according to the laws of Minnesota. It was a completely unjustified murder. If we're going by logic and we're connecting the dots, he had a legal right in the state of Minnesota to carry. That's one of the 36 states. He also had a legal right to not disclose, because in Minnesota, like I said, you only have to disclose if the police ask you. You have no duty to inform before you have interaction with them. That is the law in Minnesota. So we need to stop acting like this man was breaking all of these laws. He wasn't. He was gunned down unjustifiably because the police never asked him if he had a firearm. They never asked proof of anything. They didn't even ask for his ID, which, I mean, none of us were there. He could have had his ID and he could have had his permit on him. We don't know. Obviously, none of us were there. So it's so crazy to me, the amount of misinformation that people keep spewing about this man. I don't care what his motives were. That is the law in Minnesota.
Kim, when was he
supposed
to tell them about this gun on him? Before or after they cracked they cracked him in the head? Before or after they pepper sprayed him? What's your take? You haven't talked on it yet, Kim.
Kim or Ken?
Kim, you.
Oh, okay. The whole point of having, I just realized I missed my turn earlier. I thought you were just being funny, but the whole point of having principles is to defend them even when they're being used against your point of view. Because the Democrats will similarly use this same type of overreach against the Republicans. Now, if the Trump administration was serious about mass deportations, they would pass legislation and enforce those through laws, not executive order, because the Democrats, once they come in power, they're going to sign another executive order and reverse all of that. Second, probably most important, the way in which that ICE is being given direction to mass deport all of these people is what's so unpopular. It's not just my opinion, it's the majority of the Americans' opinions. And that's why a lot of politicians are starting to backtrack a little bit with their verbiage and their wording. Regardless of any of the laws of open carry, that guy didn't need to be shot in the back 5 times. It's pretty crazy. And then also legally, there's something that's like really important that I think people are missing, which is the theory of pre-crime. So you can't say that or assign a crime on someone that hasn't actually committed the crime or even just an intent to commit a crime. That's the Minority Report right there. You cannot prove that this man had the intent to shoot officers just because he had a gun on him legally. That is pre-crime, and that is so dystopian. That's the part that scares me the most, and that someone earlier quoted my favorite dystopian novel, 1984. Don't believe your lying eyes, okay? Because both parties do this. They move the goalposts all the time according to their own, whatever the fuck they're trying to push at that moment in time. And we're seeing it right now so grossly with the conservatives, so disgustingly grossly with the conservatives. You got me defending the Second Amendment left and right for some reason, because they've just flipped on a dime. It's pretty incredible, honestly, to see, like, firsthand.
Yo, I have another right-wing person that you guys love to hate. He thinks the shooting was justified. Let's listen.
Is it Myron?
Ignorant.
Close.
They're out there in Minneapolis breaking into hotels, vandalizing them, going where ICE is sleeping and eating and trying to attack them. The situation in Minneapolis is not that protesters are being murdered and gunned down by the Gestapo. No.
Oh, boy.
This has become the locus. This has become a rallying point of left-wing agitators. These are socialists, communists, progressives, radical leftists who are ideologically motivated to stop mass deportations. They are there to protect criminals. They are there to protect illegal aliens. They are there to protect Somalian fraudsters. And they are there to get in the middle of law enforcement and the people they are trying to arrest. Frequently, they're armed. Frequently, they're breaking the law. Either it's vandalism, it's harassment, it's assault. And so under these circumstances, this is completely justified, 100%. And by the way, I don't care if he's a veteran. I don't care if he's a nurse. I don't care if he's a U.S. citizen. We have fucking laws in this country. Donald Trump won the election. He won the Electoral College. He won the popular mandate on a platform of mass deportations. We have a federal government. The Constitution grants it powers. Trump is the chief executive in the country. He is empowered by the Constitution to deport aliens that have no legal standing to be here. That is his jurisdiction. It is lawful. It is under the jurisdiction of the federal government. These are his powers reserved by the Constitution for the executive branch, and there is a democratic popular mandate to do it. So what right do far-left agitators have to veto this? 70 million Americans voted for this.
Gee, Enzo, you guys have the same
312 Electoral College votes voted for this. That's our Constitution. That's our Immigration and Nationality Act, or Naturalization Act. That's the INA. What right do a few hundred left-wing progressives have to go in there and say, no, you don't have a right to deport illegals. No, we're going to abrogate all the laws. No, Somalians can steal money.
Gee, Enzo, y'all had the same talking points. Y'all almost kind of just alike.
I don't know who Epstein Boy was on the screen. He didn't say anything like me at all.
He said the same.
Nope.
You said the same.
Yeah, you guys sounded almost exactly the same. He was just more angry.
I would hate to say it, but he did have a good talking point when he said, I think it's lost on liberals when they don't realize that conservatives did win the election. This is what he ran on. And he's doing what the people voted for him to do. I just don't think they're doing it right. I think when they can't come out and say, hey, that's not how you do it. Should they arrest some people? Should they put people in jail if they're interfering? And some of these things, shooting someone dead in the street in the back like that isn't proper punishment to me. So I don't agree with that. But I think that this is what Trump ran on. He is going to do it. So that's something we just have to be cognizant of and live with. But I don't think the way they're doing it, and I don't think they have people properly trained doing it sometimes. And I think that's the problem.
How can we say this is what people voted for when they weren't specific on what that was going to look like? I don't think they voted for people wearing masks. I don't think they weren't specific on what are they going to look. They weren't talking about out here. They went into a bar where people were working and families were eating dinner. They didn't know what exactly was that going to look like. When I'm eating dinner, officers are going to come and pull people out from the back while we're out for entertainment. And now it's the scene.
Can I say
It's the
something
same
to
thing
that?
that's happened since Bush. There's nothing different.
Well, I would
It's
say
just polarized.
I would say the differences right now is the reason why Bovino just got fired and he got dismissed from Minnesota, and they're bringing Homan in is because Homan wanted to concentrate. His theory was you concentrate on the worst of the worst. So that's what they sold during the campaign trail was the worst of the worst. Your rapists, your murderers, your pedophiles, the worst of the worst. And that's what Homan's specialty was when he worked under Obama, was the worst of the worst. And we saw that also at the beginning of the Trump second administration, was the worst of the worst. But for whatever reason, Kristi Noem chose Bovino, and allegedly it's her boyfriend, unsubstantiated. I'm saying allegedly, she chose him to lead Minnesota. And he is the one that is doing this broad stroke. However, that is not Homan's style. And that is why President Trump is bringing Homan in to clean up the mess that Bovino made. And that's why Bovino's been dismissed, because he made a fucking mess. Because you can't do broad sweeps. You need to do targeted and get the worst of the worst, because that's what they sold to the American people. And that's what we're comfortable with. And that's what they ran on. And that's what they should be doing. I don't care about fucking Pablo flipping burgers. I want Juan, who's a rapist. I think Juan should leave first. Pablo can keep flipping the burger.
This is what they voted for, Ken. All of my MAGA friends, a few dead bodies don't matter to them. This is what they fucking voted for. Look at the chat. This is what we voted for. And sorry, if you're now flipping on your vote, you didn't know what it looked like. Hey, 11 million people, what did you think was going to happen? This is
They didn't also vote for the Epstein files. So, I mean, they voted for
I
that
say,
too.
when we say this is what they vote for, Ken, this isn't something that's proprietary to Trump. They always hide the P, and you're supposed to keep your eye on it. There was never one there. You were never going to win the shell game. You know what I mean? So that when they tell you that, you got to think that this is a small percentage of what they actually want to do, because none of them get in there. Not a Democrat, not a Republican. They all get in here and they do the same thing.
I will, if I could add to that, I said it earlier, but Trump, the only thing that he really appreciates and loves and knows more than anyone who's ever lived is good TV. So he's putting on this circus, this theater. It's good TV. It's riling up his base like, yeah, get them. But he hasn't passed legislation. It's all executive order. It's going to be reversed as soon as a Democrat goes back in office. There have been no laws that enforce these deportations, which I agree, that's what people want. They want undocumented immigrants out of here. And I will say the reason why it's gotten so ugly so quickly is because that's what the people feed off of. But it's just going to be counterproductive. And that's how you get a lot of these people who, like, on the opposite end, are starting to have this visceral reaction to it because it's inhumane. A lot of the things that they're doing, and then also covering their face, is also should be illegal. It sounds dystopian. It sounds Orwellian. It's not good.
I think that's not, and I'm going to push back on that because I feel like it's not fair to the officers, because we live in a digital day and age where women and children should not have to pay for the sins of their husbands, okay? So these men go out there and they're arresting people and they're doing these things. However, they should be wearing face coverings, because we have Gestapo patrols now of ordinary civilians walking up and down the streets of Minneapolis, stopping people in their cars because they're driving dark SUVs. We all know in this day and age, doxing, showing up at jobs, showing up at work. There was a viral woman who found a man, drove 3 hours to his job and confronted him and forced him to read an apology letter because he left one derogatory comment on her video. I think to protect these men's and these women, there's women too that are on ICE and, you know, Border Patrol, in order to protect their families, they should be masked. I will push back on that. I'm okay with all police officers being masked because at this point in time, these people shouldn't die.
I'm gonna allow the person on the panel that actually has experience with law enforcement, one of the two. Ken, what's your thoughts? Should these people have their face masks? While we at it, let's just have the cops having their face masks. I mean, because the cops can get doxxed too while we at it.
My pushback on that is when you get to cover your face, it's kind of like being on the internet and somebody hopping in your chat. They're going to approach you and say something to you that they would never say, right?
Sure.
Now, I'm going to argue not all, but a lot of people that are in law enforcement are pussy. Just by themselves, just who they are as a person. I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. It's not the most solid of individuals. And of course it does stems from how they grew up. These don't often be the biggest, strongest, fastest in the environment. They be the weakest, and they are empowered by the greatest military force in the world. And you give that person a mask. Now I will say, on the other side, if I'm showing up to work and you're calling me a Nazi, and I'm showing up to work, and you are in my face, and you're spitting in my face and everything, right? On the other side, these people aren't Nazis. I don't like that either, right? But you're showing up and you're calling them this. We don't know how much these people get paid. We don't know what kind of training they have. You have a person in the mask. Nobody even know who shot Alex. You can hide. So if I'm on the force and I see that, and I got the full backing of the greatest force in the world, and they just be reassigned, what's stopping the next person? You don't even know who I am. I could do whatever. Be with a mask on. There ain't no consequence.
Ken, to that point, I did look it up. There are people impersonating ICE agents right now around the country and assaulting women. And we claim the reason why we want the illegals out is because of assaulting women and protecting women, which was my reason for wanting them certain ones out. So with that being said, we got to keep the same energy. And if it's about protecting women, children, and American citizens, I have a problem with people covering their face. That's just me. I don't know. Then you shouldn't become an ICE agent then. If that's a concern of yours, you shouldn't be an ICE agent.
When does covering your face? When do the judge need to cover his face?
I mean, while we at it,
is the prosecutor going to cover his face? One of the biggest things in American law is that you have the right to face your accusers. So I should be able to point out who it is I have this issue with, and I should be able to say, hey, it was this guy. I have proof. You know, their names should be documented in the paperwork, all of these things. And I think putting a mask on these people, if you're doing something you're ashamed of, go do something else. If you're doing a job, you have the backing of the American government. You know what I mean? These people don't have the same people backing them and the same power backing them. And will that look weird for some guys' families and stuff like that? Yeah, they booed some of the soldiers when they came back from Vietnam. Those soldiers didn't wear masks. They went.
I mean, right. And to your point, when we have our armed soldiers who are real heroes every day going out. Now, this is not an attack on ICE. First of all, let me be clear. We don't have them covering their face when they're going to Afghanistan and Iraq. And there's real terrorist organizations that can literally come unalive their families. They are still showing their faces. So this whole bullshit about we worried about them getting doxxed. Sorry, boo-boo. If you don't like it, don't do it. It's that simple.
And I just mean it's a tough job. It's a tough job, and it is a job that has to be done. It's a tough job, but if you don't want to do it, do something else. So you got to know what you sign up for. When you sign up, you know what I mean. You just got to sign up for that. So it's a tough job. I don't envy it. You know what I mean. But if you're gonna sign up to do it, you got to sit there with your chest out and your head held high. You got to do your job. You know what I mean.
What about the good ICE agent? Right, the one that's good, the one that has a moral fabric. And they see corruption with their peers, right? What's stopping the group to pin a crime or something on the minority? You can't see his face, right? It's their word against mine. So the good cop, the good one that is like, I'm not with none of this shit, right? they can pin something on him because you can't see our faces anyway, right? It's too foggy of like it's just, again, you see how a person
We live in a
acts.
world where people take guns and they go into schools and they shoot kids, right? So, and we live in a world now where we do have liberal Gestapo gangs going up and down streets as we speak in Minneapolis. We've all seen the footage. So I would say that I'm okay with people not being masked. I'm okay with people being masked. Like, personally, I'm not out there doing anything crazy. However, I will say that we live in a world where people have no problem murdering each other with impunity. People with impunity, these people don't care. They believe in a cause and they think their moral compass backs that cause, and they are willing to jihad themselves in the United States as domestic terrorists to do it. They don't care at all whatsoever. That's my thing. If it was 1979, 1965, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. No need to wear that. But it's 2026 and the climate tells us that there needs to be certain compromises being made. I'm sorry, but you and I both know there are plenty of people out there that will take a picture of someone's face, that will go through it, and they will show up at a school and they will walk in and they will blow the brains of their child out. Point blank, period. It happens all the time.
Without saying what I do, I've had people dox me, show up to my house, threaten to kill me and my children. It happens, and I don't even go and do. I ain't, when I do, I'm not hurting.
That's my point. People are that crazy. That is my point. People, you don't even do anything.
That is true,
crazy.
but the problem is
you don't do anything crazy. You're a normal person working a normal job. You know what I mean? Putting your opinion, and people treat you like that. So that's how bad it is in 2026. That's how bad and crazy these people are.
I agree. I think cancel culture is bad, but we need to hold federal officials, federal officers accountable. And the reason why is because there's a power imbalance. Because, like Ken said, the power imbalance is that they have the biggest military, the biggest government in their backing, and then also the president saying they're going to give them immunity. That's not good either. So yeah, I condemn crime. Crime is crime. There are crazies on both ends of the spectrum. You get people, but all of this is really more dividing us. But we need to keep our eye on the ball, because we can't give too much power to the government, because what they do to us will do unto you. It's whoever's in power, whether it be the silly liberals or the silly conservatives. They always use it to their benefit. So that's why we hold our principles. Like I said, our principles matter most when you have to hold them and apply them to people that you disagree with.
Yeah, and to that point, I'm going to talk about another person, a situation that happened with a gun a few years ago. Let's watch.
Have you seen the body cam video? I was unaware you had. You know what? It's going to exonerate all the agents. You're completely right. Stephen Miller saying an assassin tried to murder federal agents, and this is your response. And J.D. Vance retweeting it says something about where this administration is and how they're considering it before and after the murder of Alex Preddy. And this will go down in history as a turning point for this. Greg Bovino wouldn't be leaving tomorrow if an innocent person wasn't killed. And the double standards that are being employed for how you have to behave versus how these agents have to behave is mind-boggling to me. Kyle Rittenhouse was a conservative hero, right, for walking into a protest, actually brandishing a weapon. But this guy who had a legal permit to carry and already had his gun removed, to some people, I guess, is some sort of instigator when he was actually going to help a woman who had been pushed down and tear-gassed by ICE. We have the right to protest. That should be upheld and respected, and it is not being.
Jessica, did you call for?
So Enzo, this was on Fox News. What is your response to what everyone's saying? They kind of are calling him a hero. They're saying he was protecting another woman. What is your response to that?
It's not comparable. Not comparable in the slightest. There's no comparison between Kyle Rittenhouse and Alex Preddy. I don't care what way I don't even know how to explain what kind of brain you have to see any type of parallel, person with gun, so equal, same situation type shit. No, it's not. Kyle Rittenhouse didn't fight with law enforcement. Kyle Rittenhouse didn't get into altercation with law enforcement like Alex Preddy did. There's nothing to compare that to. Kyle Rittenhouse was there defending a storefront, and that's what he did, and he killed fucking 2 people, one pedophile, and then another fucking whatever the fuck the other person was charged with. Alex Preddy over here was trying to be the white knight savior to protect some random woman that's probably a part of the same group chats that they were a part of, to go out there and go harass more ICE agents. One less person to go harass ICE agents. ICE is doing pretty good in my eyes.
Ken, your face is killing me. Stop. Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna let Ken go next. This is an ICE agent, and let's see what he had to say to some protesters the other day.
This, brother. What? You know, I will tell you this. You raise your voice, I raise your voice.
If I raise my voice, you'll erase my...
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Are you serious? You said if I raise my voice, you'll erase my voice?
Yes.
Okay, so Ken, there was another clip, I can't find it, but basically the ICE agent was telling them, hey, you're out here blowing your whistles, but we are trying to get a pedophile in that house over there. What do you have to say to all of that and your response to Enzo? Because I know
it's interesting. It's the language. So, Enzo, Kyle Rittenhouse didn't know if the person was a pedophile. So he wasn't going there for vigilante justice for that. He didn't know that, right? So that was interesting how you framed that. Also,
Great.
Alex wasn't attacking anybody. He's backing up, right? And the way that you're framing this dude, it's 6-on-1. Dude didn't get shot in the chest. Enzo, he got shot.
I don't care. It's not comparable. So hold on. You're leaving out key context. This is what you guys love to. This is what people love to do. They love to leave out key evidence, right? So he had an altercation with ICE a week prior. He got up in the face of an ICE agent. I'm sorry, Border Patrol agent. Moments before that happens, put his hands on an officer as the officer, before the officer sprayed him with OC spray. You're forgetting all of this. Kyle Rittenhouse, yeah, sure, he didn't know that person was a pedophile. That person was attacking him. That's a civilian on civilian crime, not civilian on officer. He got up in the face and he already put his hands on it. He already put his hands on an agent. The precedence has already been set earlier this year. I've been saying it for months. I'm going to keep fucking saying it. The precedence has already been set for people on the left to go out there and harm ICE agents for whatever gain they get out of it.
He didn't commit.
It's already been set.
And he wasn't harming the officers.
He put his hands on an officer. That's assault. That's obstruction. 18 USC 111.
He did not.
You guys are blind. You guys are blind.
Nora, do you have a video that I don't know about? Is there a video of Alex putting his hands on officers?
I mean, we can watch it again. Because maybe
Enzo knows something. Maybe Enzo knows something I don't know. Maybe he's seen something I don't know. Like maybe because he has this thing framed like this dude is the aggressor. You know what I'm saying? And also another thing is, how come everything is tethered to a person is on the left? What evidence do we have that a person is on the left? They could be a Democrat and not be on the left.
Where else would you be, on Mars?
What do you mean?
You're not hold on. You could be a Democrat but not be on the left. Where are you going to be, on Mars?
A leftist?
Hillary Clinton is not on the left.
Right, a leftist. Enzo, a leftist doesn't make you being a Democrat doesn't make you a leftist. Just like being,
I never said it makes you a leftist.
But no, you're saying. But when you're
throwing the term leftist out there, I'm saying people on the left. So that could be liberals, that could be Democrats, that could be leftists, that could be communists, that could be anything that falls under the left ideology.
But Enzo, the words matter. When the media uses the left, they are speaking of leftists. They're not.
What about the people on the right condemning it?
On the left,
there's people on the right condemning it and standing up for the Second Amendment. What about them? There's a lot.
Sure, they can condemn it all they want. I said it in the beginning with my message earlier today. I want a thorough investigation into this. I want a thorough investigation. Everything that I'm saying is based off of what I've seen and what my opinion is on this. That is up to interpretation and up to change. There's nothing tethering me down saying that I'm going to stand with this altogether. If there's new information that comes out by an investigation that proves what I'm saying is wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong.
Okay, let me see where this dude is a Hulkamaniac and he's clotheslining and leg dropping and rock bottoming people. Let me see.
Also, not including the politician who was starting those chats, that is unethical, but organizing in itself and having
Let's go back. Wait.
Damn, they went to that spray in the face real quick.
Hold on, I gotta back
As they
that up.
should.
I gotta back that up. We gotta.
Let me see.
Okay, so he
Right
put his
there.
hands on it there. He put his hands on his there. Let's watch it again. Let's watch it back. Let's watch it back. Wait, hold on. I gotta back it up more. Wait, shoot.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. You gotta make it big.
Okay, let me see.
All right, he came over. He knocked the woman down.
Woman
He
got
came.
pushed.
Let's
Right
back it
after
up
the
again.
woman went down, he pushed the officer. That's putting hands on an officer.
No, he didn't.
So
He didn't
So
push
he-
the officer. His back was turned to the officer. See, there he
No,
is.
it wasn't.
There
Right
he is.
there.
He had his hand up.
He had his hand up.
He had his hands up.
No, he put his hand up after he pushed him.
He's defending a woman.
What authority does he have to defend that woman? What vigilante justice does he have to defend that woman from
His,
federal officers?
his soul, his humanitarian
Okay,
soul.
that's not legality. We want to go to
It's
morals,
called
sure.
the Good Samaritan, actually. It's overreach and tyranny from the government.
Wait. I got to put a question out there for Enzo and for everybody in the chat. If we saw an officer, an ICE officer, your precious ICE officer, and I love the ICE. Let me be clear. I support ICE. Y'all have me on stream saying that. We saw him raping a woman. Would you have stopped him then? Or would you say, oh, no. Mm-mm.
The hype,
Where do we
the
draw the
crazy hypotheticals. Why
It's
don't we
not
do
what
something
he's
that's
trying to get
compared?
at is what
No. This
What would it
is
take?
why
Is there
this is why
something you
I
would
don't
condemn?
this is why I don't really debate the left with hypotheticals, because it's always
I'm not a left,
crazy.
so don't
I
pull
know
that.
you're not. I know you're not, but
a
I'm saying
left.
like that's
I'm
what
telling-
they do. They
yeah.
throw that crazy hypothetical out there. Why don't we do something more comparable?
I think it's because I think people are trying to gauge what is acceptable. Okay, so that's what there obviously there's little things like we saw, and then there's big things like rape. So we need to figure out as human beings this moral compass here, what you are willing to accept from a federal officer, right? So you're willing to accept pepper spray. I feel like that's within their right as an officer. Tasing also is within their right as officers. Obviously, pushing down for whatever reason clearly is within their right as well. And shooting, people have accepted that. Now, if you see an ICE officer sexually assaulting a woman, would you say, "Hey"? Would you stop it? Because
I'm not answering stupid hypotheticals.
Okay, well, this America.
I don't do this with the left. I don't do this with the left. I'm not doing this with you guys. I'm not answering stupid hypotheticals.
I'm going to answer for you because I know in my heart of hearts you would stop it. I understand you have a lot of
I'm not
people in the
answering
chat
to
that you can't
I want
say yes,
I want something more comparable.
but I
That's it.
understand in my heart
I
of
mean, they
hearts you're a
pushed the
good
shit
dude
out of
and
an
you would
Enzo.
stop it.
They did push the shit out of an unarmed woman, and mind you, ICE agents are working class Americans. I'm for class solidarity. Right? That is a very hard job. These people are not Nazis. I think they're badly trained. I think that incident right there, you have to do extreme mental gymnastics to make it work. And I think I have a problem with people being loyal to their political brand. That shit was wrong. I'm not against.
This has nothing to do with the political party.
Someone's in the chat right now saying you record and yell stop like a normal human. Tell them they're being recorded. If they're in fight or flight mode, do it with words. Get evidence for a civil rights case. Don't interfere. Dude, and this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with men who would watch a woman get raped and record.
We're there.
That is the kind of man we're dealing with. These are not the men that went to World War II. Clearly, all the good ones must have died because these are the bad ones' grandkids. But you're telling me as a man, as a masculine man, living in your masculinity, that you would allow another person, another man, to sexually assault a woman, and you're going to tell me you're going to take your fucking stupid phone out and record it for evidence? Like, get the fuck out of here. And you wonder why men aren't getting married. This is the answers that you guys give us, and this is why women aren't marrying men anymore.
Yeah, these are the descendants of the draft dodgers.
Crazy, dude. Crazy.
Because just so we're clear, Alex Petty was responding to a woman getting pushed. He was responding. Just because you are law enforcement don't make you righteous. Let's be clear on that shit right here. You being the law does not make you right. A woman was pushed to the ground. Alex Petty came between that. That's what we're talking about. Now, Izzo, I'm not against ICE, bro. I'm against that. That was wrong. I'm not letting none of my female homegirls get pushed. No woman get pushed. I don't give a fuck that you are the law. What does that mean? You're wrong. You're wrong. The law can be wrong.
If we were just talking about a random person just getting pushed by ICE, sure, we would be in agreement. I'm never going to agree on this conversation at all, and this has nothing to do with a political party or anything like that. These people are out there to obstruct, to harass, to interfere. This is what they are going to do. This is what they are doing. We're not talking about some random lady on the street that just got pushed for no reason. I'm specifically talking about this situation here. This and exactly what's going on now today. That's it. This is not for a random person or anything like that.
Okay,
I'm
to your
saying
knowledge,
logically
this woman, what did she interfere with? This specific woman, to your
Video
knowledge.
recording.
What they do. Let me be clear. I'm gonna back up Enzo a little bit.
Because what does she do?
They're using whistles and they're getting attention to the people in the area to tell them that the ICE is there. So that is a form of obstruction to ICE's what they're doing. Can't think of the term. Enzo, you probably know it. But to what their operation is.
It's obstruction. It's obstruction. Okay. It's clear as form.
Okay. All right. So
I disagree that that's obstruction.
Okay. When they're organized in groups and this is what they're doing, running plates to make sure that people are out there the second they get out their vehicles to notify these illegal immigrants that they're in the area to flee. Yes, that's obstruction. That's what they're doing. That's what the group. It's not my point of view, Kim. It's not my point of view. It's literally what I read in their fucking in their signal chats. It's what I read. That is illegal. That's a legal offense. That is 18 USC 111 obstruction.
If they do break the law, then let them be held accountable pursuant to the law. But shot in the back 5 times, that's much. That's a lot much. And also, I was just going to say that
I just love how, like I said earlier, we only talk about this situation of Renee Good when there's been 6 other shootings that have happened in the United States that were American citizens, but nobody talks about them.
Was it filmed?
Nobody questions anything.
Was it filmed?
Well, it's because it's part of the discourse. That has nothing to do with it.
Nobody brings that up. We're only bringing up these situations. I just think it's honestly laughable.
We can go through all of them, but I was just going to say that the people who are out there organizing, they believe in their cause. And there's nothing wrong with that. They think they're helping people. They don't want undocumented immigrants to be deported. There's nothing wrong with that. If they break the law, sure, prosecute them.
You were like, I don't know about that.
Can I say this? Well, to Enzo's credit, I mean, I think the biggest problem in this entire situation, and the reason that we're in this situation to begin with, is the state of Minnesota is refusing to police. So the police should be out there doing their jobs, and they are not doing their jobs. So the Minnesota has their own, most states have their own, every state has their own constitution, correct? Minnesota is very articulate. They have to have like 0.0017 amount of law officers per capita for their city. So they should have over 700 officers. They have just under 600. They're massively underfunded. The mayor has underfunded them. I mean, they've set the scene for this to happen. They have passed measures, laws, mandates, ordinance that have set the scene for this. Because normally, ICE, you wouldn't see what they're doing. Like, you would see them, but you wouldn't see them. So Minneapolis has forced ICE to do this out in public by them not playing legal ball the way they should. I mean, they banned them from parking in like public garages through ordinance. I mean, Minnesota has done absolutely everything they possibly can to set up this state-sanctioned massacre of what we're seeing at this point in time. This chaos. They've set the scene for this chaos. So at the end of the day, I will argue that the government of Minnesota, the state elected officials, do bear a lot of responsibility. And I will say Seattle residents successfully sued the city and won, because the city has a duty to protect its legal citizens that live there first, above anything else. They have that legal right. And after the summer of love, residents in the city of Seattle sued Seattle and won because they said Seattle was derelict in their duties of protecting the city itself, protecting property, and protecting the citizens. And I think the citizens in Minneapolis should band together and should sue the city of Minneapolis, because they have a very strong case with this precedent, because Minneapolis is not doing what they should be doing. The police are not in the street policing. They are purposely setting the city.
What's that sound?
I don't know, but Doc, go ahead. What were you going to?
I think the people of Minneapolis have band together, but they've band together to believe in the opposite of what you just articulated. These people have decided that that's not what they believe in, and kind of what you're saying is Minneapolis should be pressured by the federal government into turning their police force to their private militia. That's what it sounds like, because that's what the police force is there to serve the people.
Yes.
And it seems like the people of Minneapolis have decided what they would like. So that doesn't align with this. So these people are paid by the people of Minneapolis. These people
and they
should be aligned with the people of Minneapolis, in my opinion. And these people have, by what they're doing, says that this is what they would prefer. So I'm not gonna allow you to say, oh, we've decided we're gonna come here and we're gonna allow you to turn our police force into your private bodyguards, into your private militias. We're here to serve the people of our community. That's what the police are for, and the people of their community. And I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm saying that it appears from what we see that this is what the people of that community want. So it would be hard to get them to get behind that and believe that.
I think the problem too is there's not, with these kind of things, there's not a distinction. So I seen some people vandalizing and burning shit, right? So it be crowds overlap with each other, right? So who is a leftist who is down with revolution and system overhaul? Who's that? And then who are concerned residents that have a problem with ICE doing their job, the way they're handling their job? They don't have a problem with ICE. They have a problem with the way that ICE is doing their job. And the issue is distinction, right? Because, all right, during January 6th, everybody that was out there wasn't far right, right? There's no distinction. It's overlap, right? So with this is you don't know who's who. You don't know who's genuinely concerned with the way that they're doing their job is bad, and we want to highlight that, opposed to people that are setting fire to shit. The people setting fire to shit is in the same crowd as just regular concerned citizens that are filming, and the regular concerned citizens that are filming are being called something that they're not. They don't even identify with leftist policies. That's one. Two, you got to be very careful, because some people are coming to work as good people, but if you get in their face and you spit in their face and you call them Nazis and you call them shit, and you can turn a good person into a I don't give a fuck person. Because
but see, I think my problem with this is that, and it goes back to the mask thing. These dudes aren't from here. So when we're saying these people getting doxxed, these dudes are wearing masks. The police don't go out here in masks. So now I'm going in my community to support some no name, no face individuals conduct these raids, and I still have to live here. I'm not leaving. I'm not being reassigned. I'm not going back across the country. I still have to live here, and that can breed resentment for the police force in this community that's supposed to protect this community. So I think they're in a tough position. So I can see why they may not completely support it.
Well, it's not about supporting. It's about these police officers have an oath to protect those citizens, and they're not even in this. They're not doing their jobs. These police are literally not doing their jobs. I have yet to see a video out of all the videos, and I've been there, of any police. If the police would simply even do crowd control of the citizens, I'm not saying hurt them. I'm saying be there as a presence, saying, hey, maybe Renee Good would still be alive. maybe Alex Peretti would still be alive. We need to think about that. If the police were actually doing their jobs, these are municipal police. These aren't state police that go all over. These are city cops. And if they were actually working their beats and doing their jobs, overseeing these crowds just to protect the people that they supposedly serve, the tax dollars that they utilize to feed groceries to their families, they're not doing that. That's the problem, is these cops are nowhere to be found. They're not doing their jobs. I'm not saying being a private militia. I'm saying they should be on the street overseeing these crowds to make sure their citizens, their neighbors, and their families are safe. But they're not doing that. They are perpetuating this violence. They are setting the scene by not doing their job and protecting their communities and their neighbors and all, like I said, in their families. They are nowhere to be seen.
To that point, I got to give credit to California, because to Mia's point, we saw California did a good job of dispersing the people in June when they were having those protests. So I kind of see what Mia's saying. They're not doing crowd control, but there are hundreds of thousands of people that have been coming out to protest in Minnesota. And I have one last clip. Nick Sorter had an announcement, something he found out. So let's see. This is the protesters going to get what they want? Let's see.
Is that I've unfortunately been hearing this morning is that Border Patrol agents have now been given new orders not to, for example, if they were to run a license plate and it comes back as that person is an illegal that Border Patrol was forced to let into the country under Joe Biden, they are no longer allowed to arrest that person.
And is this
even
the first
though they know for a fact that they're illegal?
Is this new information that you're just bringing to light right now, that these new orders? Okay. And I don't want you to reveal your sources, but you have someone who you trust on this. You believe this is a matter of official, actual approach and policy now.
This actually came from two separate Border Patrol agents on the ground in Minnesota. They're very, very frustrated. Obviously, they feel like one of them actually said that this feels like we just reverted to the Biden days.
So all of that, and they're being told that they're just going to let people go. So there's no mass deportation. That's what it sounds like. Enzo, what's your thoughts on what you just heard?
I don't understand why they're doing that. I heard that yesterday. I literally was sat beside myself. I'm like, what the fuck's the point then? It makes no absolute sense at all. So we're just supposed to let these people just run free, or what are we supposed to do? Wait for them to get out of their vehicle and then arrest them? Is that what we're supposed to do? Because technically that's a traffic stop by stopping them and getting them.
I will say in Florida, I don't know what it's like for you in Jersey, Enzo. I've seen a lot of police, I'm hearing the ICE are here. So I'm confused on that order, because they're doing tons of, they're pulling people over left and right. And from what I'm hearing from people, when they're pulling over, they're running them to see if they're in the ICE, and then they're calling ICE. And I've known people that have been seeing that.
We're about to be a sanctuary state, so ain't none of that gonna happen here. Yeah, Mickey Sherrill's about to. She literally is putting through legislation to make it a sanctuary state. So it's gonna be fun here. It's already overrun. We already got sanctuary cities. We got Trenton, Camden, and Newark. It's a fucking shit show there.
That's kind of vague though.
Camden's a sanctuary state. Or
Like
sanctuary city.
just saying don't stop them is kind of vague. Like, he didn't get no reasons behind. Like, usually when they have an ROE change, because I think
that's a miss. I think what it is what I'm explaining, Doc. They're no longer telling local law enforcement to do the checks anymore. Because here in Florida, for example, what they were doing is they'll pull you over. They're going to run you. If you have anything, like if you're flagged in any way with ICE, they're going to pick you up and they're going to take you in for even a simple speeding ticket or anything when they're stopping you. And that literally, I've known 2 or 3 people, friends of mine, whose family members have been taken and deported and sent back to Venezuela and other South American countries. So that's like a real thing.
And maybe they think, ICE isn't trained in like doing traffic stops, and maybe they want to take that away from them to have, so they don't have to have so many different ways that they're conducting these type of investigations and these type of raids. Maybe that's something they're doing just to protect themselves. I don't know, because I couldn't see that they would run in somebody's name, run a vehicle, know that this is, kind of the job they're doing, and just let them go. That wouldn't make sense. There would be no point to be there.
Well, I think what they're saying is they're not going to have local law enforcement running the checks anymore. That's what I'm taking that to mean. Kimberly, have you heard that? What do you take it to mean?
Have I heard what? I'm sorry, exactly?
About the clip. What he's saying is all of this was for naught because the ICE agents are not going to be they're not going to be doing detainments in that way. They're only going to be doing it if they're criminals, I believe. They're going to back up off of documented people.
Right. So with the switch from Tom Homan, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm still going to go back to what I said originally, which is they need to pass legislation. They should have done that right away. They might lose majority and enforce these deportations through law, not through executive order. I do think it'll help them with the midterms to kind of switch up, at least rhetorically, like get the bad ones first. That will help a bit. I've never heard anybody say, no, don't get the bad, rapists or whatever. Please take them. So yeah, I did notice that's why they switched up to Homan, right?
Kimberly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have heard people say, not majority, but I have heard people say, we don't want these I have heard people say we want it done. Yeah. When they show up to court and things like that. I guys have heard them say it on this channel. I'm not gonna say who, that they don't want it to be so aggressive. Doesn't matter if they're criminal or not.
Oh, the aggressiveness. Well, I mean, unfortunately, even criminals have rights. So even if, let's say it was a criminal, unless he was committing a crime, should he get shot in the back 5 times? No, but that's the thing with holding principles, is that you have to hold them consistently, even when they're being used against, I don't know, chomos and pedos and all that. They unfortunately have rights too, and that's the real test principles.
Well, I think for optics purposes, since we're rolling into the midterms, it makes sense to go after the worst of the worst and ease up on everything else. Because right now the press is bad. Bovino is fired. They're bringing Homan in. It's just a mess. It's a filthy, nasty mess. And, I felt like the government had the upper hand with Renee Good because she was in a vehicle, and we could all get behind vehicles are dangerous. Vehicles have been and currently are being used as weapons of sorts. We've seen it. You know what I mean? But this was very messy, and I just think it makes more sense to go after the worst of the worst first, because you can defend that. You can say, hey, I have this person. Hey, I have that person. Hey, I have this person, and concentrate on the worst of the worst. And then if you find some randoms on the way, deport them too. But I think optics wise, most people can agree with getting out the worst of the worst versus getting out an ordinary individual who's a laborer.
I'll go a little further, since we'll find some middle ground. I'm not going to defend the Minnesota leaders either, not Tim Walz, not that lady who started the chat. That's also adding fuel to the fire, borderline illegal. They shouldn't be doing that either. These Democrats are so silly. They just want the show. They want to stick it to Trump. But there's a way to do it, and I think that's probably not the right way to do it.
Speaking of Minnesota, this was 29 minutes ago. Jacob Frey says he will not comply with federal immigration laws. I also made it clear that Minneapolis does not need and will not enforce federal immigration laws, and we remain focused on keeping our neighbors and our safe streets. City leaders will continue to stay in conversations with Mr. Homan and his team. So even by putting Tom Homan there, Mayor Frey is not doing anything. They have 1,600 detainers for illegal immigrants in Minnesota prisons. They released 400 of them onto the streets within the last month. They're not complying with the detainers that they have for these illegal immigrants in their own prisons.
I don't like, so this is also distinction. A lot of this is about, I just want to stick it to Donald Trump, right? I don't like that, because it's like a salad bar going on, because you don't know who's who. Is the rebellion to Trump? Is it rebellion on some humanity shit? Is it about people not doing their job well? You know what I'm saying? This has, if it was Kamala Harris, would it look different? You know what I'm saying? Would people move differently if it was a woman in office? You can't. There's no distinction on who is who. And the problem with that is, as an ICE agent, there's no distinction. So you don't know who has a camera in your face.
And this is where we're going to see the battle. This is where we're going to see how much states' rights actually have. I bet we're going to see a lawsuit out of this. I bet it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court and an emergency ex parte hearing. And I can almost guarantee you the Minneapolis mayor is going to lose. And I hope that's the outcome, because it'll set the precedent that cities and states cannot unilaterally become immigration dissenters, if you will. I mean, I think it would be fantastic if a lawsuit came out of this, if Pam Bondi did something worth a fuck. And a lawsuit came out of this, and they took it to the Supreme Court, and we set a good precedent to show that I understand you have these rights, but at the end of the day, everybody needs to abide by federal law. We all do. You can't just cherry pick what you want to abide by. You're taking that Fed money, baby. You're going to have to abide by the Fed laws. If you don't want that federal money, honey, you don't take it. I feel like that's one of those things where if you're not going to abide by federal laws, like all of the other states and territories, then you don't have a right to take Fed money, period. Point blank, period. That should be the trade-off. That should be the trade-off.
The Democrats don't play to win. The Democrats don't play to win. It's almost intentional.
I agree with that.
Last clip, and then we could all give our closing thoughts. This is regarding the midterms. Someone brought it up, so let's see.
To me, this is heading to a very dark place in America. You've got these ICE agents who, for their own self-protection, because they're getting doxxed, they're getting identified, they're getting targeted and so on. They're wearing masks. They're out there. A lot of them apparently do not have proper crowd control training. They're getting into regular skirmishes now with protesters, which are turning deadly. And I think the American people are increasingly appalled by this, which is why you're seeing Donald Trump reigning back in this particular incident in a way we haven't seen him before. But this is getting tinderbox stuff, isn't it?
Well, first of all, a fabulous Republican economist, I think his name was Herb Sines, said that which can't continue won't. This is not going to continue. By the way, if I were a Republican, I would be reminded of the sign on the entrance of Dante's Inferno, abandon all hope. You're going to get beat so bad in November, you have no idea. The Democrats are going to pick up 6 or 7 Senate seats. And the idea that somebody exercising poor judgment, which I'm sure I do 10 times a day, is the excuse for someone to shoot me is utterly ludicrous. So people make mistakes all the time. They park in no parking zones, they exceed speed limits, they might drink too much. None of this suggests that you ought to be out shooting people. And honestly, what you have there is a bunch of undertrained, not particularly qualified people with badges and guns. And this is going to be the result of it. The American people don't like it overwhelmingly. Stand by, sit still, and get the crap beat out of you, because that's what's going to happen.
All right, guys, we're going to do closing thoughts. Kimberly's going to go first. Kimberly, what's your closing thoughts? What do you predict is going to happen with the midterms with this?
What do I predict with the midterms? I'm not good at predicting stuff. I thought Kamala was going to win this last time, and I thought Trump was going to win the time before that. But with regards to the midterms, I mean, the Democrats are really good at losing. The Republicans just don't have to fuck it up, and they're losing this rhetoric war. Also, I'm really sad that you got me in this like bind where like I agree with James Carville. I freaking hate that guy. And you got me agreeing what he said right there wasn't necessarily wrong. And then just to close, maybe it's just me at my core. I've been talking back to my parents since I was 5. I am at my core against authority for the sake of authority. And we should all be, because government overreach and tyranny leads us to the matrix. And I'll just reiterate, I've probably said this ad nauseum, but it's really important. If the Republicans were serious about getting rid of illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants, illegal labor, which they're not, They would go after the corporations that employ illegal labor, individuals who employ illegal labor. They would go after remittances or pay wires that are transferred through the biggest banks that you know out of the United States into Mexico and other countries. But they won't, and they're not going to do that because they love illegal labor. And that's why you get these little loopholes for certain industries like hotels and farm workers, because both parties benefit off of it. And also, I condemn all violence on both sides, on the left and on the right. We shouldn't be instigating. We shouldn't be interfering or making a lot of the times, or assuming that all ICE agents or police officers are bad. You can record. It's not illegal to record. It's not illegal to organize. But also, we should be wary of who's organizing us. Like, what is the intent of the Democrats? We should be able to think for ourselves and not just what they're feeding us. But yeah, it was a good conversation. Thank you all for having me every day.
Thank you. Ken, what's your closing thoughts? And thank you for coming tonight.
My closing thoughts are: it's a shame that the language we use to other each other, leftist, right, all that. These are the working class in America, and it's the working class versus the working class. And for some reason, the people that run the world are never involved in the skirmish, right? But it's the poor man at the bottom, because the ICE are poor. They get little government benefits and shit, but they are poor. And you have other poor people on the street. And the power is in the people. I'm never, ever gonna side with the state or the federal government over the public, even if the public is wrong. Just like we are always guilty and we got to be and prove ourselves innocent, the government is guilty off top, and you got to make yourself innocent, right? I am about class solidarity, because if those people in Minnesota starve, down the line those ICE agents will starve. They're not going to get picked first either. You know what I'm saying? They're poor people always need to set aside their differences and come together. And it's the job of the poor and the people at the bottom to shape America how they want to see it. Not rich people, not people at the top. And what's boggling my mind, I've never seen this before. I see people siding with billionaires now. I see people siding with the federal government now. I see people siding with the state now over the poor. I don't remember that, right? And it's sad, and it seems it's fear to me, where you look at your poor brother, right, with disdain, and you look at 1%ers, billionaires who don't fuck with you, who make laws and legislation against you, who create policies that's against you, and when this shit burns, you burn in it. They don't burn, right? So you come together based on your class, not your gender, not your race, not even your religion, because the rich Christian is going to shit on the poor Christian, and the rich Muslim is going to shit on the poor Muslim. You know what I'm saying? You come together based on your class. That's my closing statement.
All right. Enzo, what's your closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts were this was a good episode. A lot needs to change in this country. Democrats need to be held accountable for the rhetoric that is leading to these situations that are happening. Or at this point, we're not going to have a country anymore. Just point blank, simple as that. All the issues that are going on in this country is explicitly from, right now with immigration is from one party and one party only. Those are the only ones with the rhetoric. I'm all for what ICE is doing. Like I said before, ICE is doing a pretty good job in my eyes. I need them to keep up the good work and get these illegals out. Like I said before, I want to see an investigation into the Pretty situation, just for shits and giggles, to confirm my bias in the situation and let it all end. And people just need to mind their business at the end of the day and stop trying to be white knighting for people that would literally rape and kill you if they fucking had the chance to. So
Thank you, Enzo. Mia, what's your closing thoughts?
American citizens have the right to bear arms. American citizens have the right to assembly. And there is overlap there. 36 states allow you to bear arms while at assemblies. I suggest everybody get acquainted with their individual states' rules and laws and regulations. And I will end with, if you don't want to abide by the federal law, then you should not receive any federal dollars, including SNAP, EBT, doesn't matter. You should get absolutely nothing. You should forfeit that. We all live in the United States and we all have to live under federal law. And I don't want my federal dollars going to people who don't want to abide by the same laws that I am forced to abide by.
That's a good point. Doc, what's your closing thoughts?
This was a great episode. I'm glad for everybody in the chat. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like and subscribe. A lot of these people on the panel and on our other shows, they make content and they're well informed. They do a lot of research. So you guys go and follow them. Follow some of the guys that, if you don't agree with Enzo, go follow Enzo. If you don't agree with Kim, go follow Kim. And you'll just get a different side, and that way you'll allow yourself to be compare what you believe and to hear, what the other side believes as well. You guys shouldn't just sit in echo chambers, or you guys shouldn't just hear one side of the story of what's going on in our country. So all of these people on the show, they have a great voice. They're very informed. You guys go and check them out and follow their content.
That was nice. Okay, guys. Shout out to the panel. Thank you to Doc and Ken for coming last minute. We appreciate you. They are on every Monday and Wednesday night on the Man Cave. And if you're watching and you're not already subscribed, you know what to do. So yeah, guys, we're also starting lunch with the new party again. It'll be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's our lunchtime show, Mondays and Wednesdays, actually Mondays and Fridays. We are also starting our morning show. I'm hosting it. Here's a preview for those of you that have never watched.
Good morning and welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine and I'm the host of Weekend and Weekday Recap, bringing you the stories everyone's talking about and the ones they don't want you to hear. We're breaking down all the latest in politics, culture, and the moments that shape the headlines live at 6 a.m. every Monday and Friday morning. So grab your coffee, wake up your mind, and let's get into it, only here on The New Party.
So yeah, guys, come hang out with me every Monday and Friday. We'll be doing the recap from the weekday and weekend. But guys, so these are my closing thoughts. This is it. I don't think people understood what mass deportation was going to look like for 11 million people. However, I do think some people kind of had an idea, and unfortunately, these things happen. I'm not supporting it. I'm not in agreement with it, but we do need to have accountability, okay? I support, let me be clear, I support deportations, okay? I support people having rights, though, too. And I also support holding ICE accountable. You can support ICE and still believe in limits. Immigration enforcement is part of the law of this country, and many ICE agents do their job professionally, under pressure, and within the rules. Supporting ICE means supporting lawful enforcement. Not chaos, not vigilantes, and not unchecked power. But this support does not mean blind loyalty. When force is used, especially deadly force, it must be justified, transparent, and held to the same standards we expect from any law enforcement agency. No badge should place someone above accountability. If an ICE agent acts outside the law or uses unjustified violence, the public has every right to demand a full, independent investigation. That's not being anti-ICE. That's pro-justice and pro-rule of law. Accountability strengthens law enforcement. It builds trust, protects innocent people, and protects good agents from the actions of bad ones. You can believe in borders, enforcement, and public safety, and still insist that power is exercised responsibly, okay? This balance is not weakness. That's what a free society requires, and that's why we have the Constitution. And if you believe in the Constitution, hit that like button and come back. Check us out tomorrow night. God bless, good night, and have a great...
Before we wrap, I want to take a quick moment to talk about how you can support the new party. We are an independent media platform. No corporate backers, no political handlers, just a collection of voices representing all American viewpoints, especially the stories they don't want you talking about.
I'm disgusted with our government, and it doesn't matter which party you're talking about. I'm disgusted.
We are watching an act of genocide. I don't know how else to put it. There are thousands of people getting killed every day.
This is the first time in history that an American cardinal has ever been elevated to pope. It is legitimately make America great again.
Yeah.
Like, they're fighting for illegal immigrants, not immigrants. Illegal. Like, and they burning the flag and shit.
Like I always say, it was a great episode. I'm happy with the wins that Donald Trump's.
Like you heard Nora Skeptic say, we're going to keep bringing like different types of content and things that we know people want to see. And like we always say on the New Party, always vote.
If you believe Americans can still have civil discourse, even in these polarizing times, we need your help to stay independent and keep growing. You can support us by donating to our GoFundMe page, becoming a channel member, sending a super chat, or grabbing merch from the New Party store. Every donation goes directly toward growing the channel promotion and our upcoming documentary. And as a thank you, donors will receive an exclusive copy of the documentary 1 week before it premieres. Who is the New Party? We're you, your voice, your stories, your America. We can only do this together. So if you're able, please donate and help us get the message out.